in collation centers to prevent election manipulation.
This would indicate that collecting centers are the most vulnerable points in manipulating election results.
Online loan defaulters expose humiliation and harassment by credit facilities, citing an intentional inability to repay. And later on CNR Extra, civil society organizations unite to demand 15% budget increase for public basic schools, citing urgent need for improved conditions.
Increase the budgetary allocation to education from the current 12% to at least 15% of the total national budget, using the supplementary budget window.
Once again, you're welcome to CNR Extra here on City TV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments via WhatsApp line 0204447033. We're also streaming live on YouTube, where you can join us on CityTube. Jude Mensa Duncan, you're welcome to the show. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing super, Phil. I mean, it's I mean, every time we come, it's a Friday. Anytime we come, that's a Friday. I mean, the excitement is different because there's something to look forward to. So I mean, it's great to be here again. High spirits, looking forward to the weekend. Rightly
so. Let's bring you the very first story. And Accra Court has granted interim injunction restraining special prosecutor from arresting Charles Bissell, but OSP has set authority to arrest without warrant. Let's bring you that insight.
An Accra Human Rights Court, presided by Justice Nicholas Abodapi, has, following an application by the lawyers of Charles Bissell, made an order for interim injunction restraining the office of the Special Prosecutor or its agents from executing an alleged arrest warrant. The court has also stopped the Special Prosecutor from applying for any further arrest warrants pending the determination of the substantive matter, and also publishing notices purporting the applicant to be wanted pending the determination of the substantive matter. The order lasts for 10 days while the case has been adjourned to the 22nd of June 2023. Meanwhile, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has asserted that it possesses the authority to arrest suspects of interest without a warrant. The OSP clarified its position on Twitter shortly after a human rights court granted an interlocutory injunction restraining the Special Prosecutor or its assignees from arresting Charles Bissell.
So the OSC says that it doesn't need a warrant before it can affect an arrest. And also Charles Bissell, that is Mr. Charles Bissell, he recently filed a writ at the High Court in Accra in an attempt to prevent the OSP from prosecuting him. The legal action was in response to an ongoing investigations led by the Special Prosecutor in alleged corruption involving Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, the chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. And this has been an issue that is sort of like back and forth. Charles Bissell, the OSP says that you are wanted, you have to show up now. There's been this court injunction, but the OSP says that this is what is going to deter them from arresting Charles Bissell, or probably getting Charles Bissell to appear before it.
I mean, you can understand why the OSP will be very strict in its approach. I mean, for Mr. Charles Bissell, it's simple. His argument is that once he's being investigated, or once the matter is already in the courts, there's no need for the OSP to also come on board. But I mean, Philip, let's look at the act that sets up the office of the Special Prosecutor, or the act that establishes the office, and basically that's Act 959, and it draws power from the Office of the Attorney General. So to an effect, even though the Office of the Attorney General is strictly partisan because the Attorney General, the Minister of Justice, is an appointee of the President, that the OSP draws some power from that office. And if you look at the act and you read through what the framers of it thought at the time, it's to suggest that it has the powers of the police, or it has the prosecuting powers of the police. So, I mean, when the OSP make the argument that they don't need a warrant to effect that, then it stands to reason, or it stands to explain where they are coming from. I mean, it says that the act that establishes the office is that to investigate and prosecute alleged corruption or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses, to investigate. So if for some reason the OSP feels that they need to go after this gentleman in question, that's Charles Bissiou, and get a clearer picture of it, for which reason they would have to be under arrest before the investigation can go ahead. I think the explanation from the OSP, per the backing they have from the law, is quite clear on that. I mean, go back to how it played out when it involved the former Minister for Science, Environment and Technology, Professor Frimpong Boateng. I mean, I think it was done. People have had cause to disagree with the approach of the special prosecutor, even though I opine that, see, for all the allegations Professor Frimpong Boateng has made, I mean, it is in his interest really to go through the process, go through the court, and if it's really clean as he claims he is, I'm sure at the end of the day he shouldn't be afraid of the prosecution. And even though he was arrested and he came with some quite some public furore and criticisms, I think the OSP managed to handle that issue very well. I mean, post the arrest of Prof. Frimpong Boateng, was engaged in some media interviews and said that, see, I have a job to do, I have a mandate to fulfill, and that is what I'm focusing, irrespective of your standing in society. And I think that is the same approach they want to take with Mr. Charles Bissiou. You recall when it first came up, he said he is not running away. When the first arrest warrant sort of was published on the OSP website and many media outlets, when it first came out, he said he was not running away. He was in the jurisdiction and he was doing even though he was on war, he was doing some official engagements in the Western region. If he comes, you turn over himself to the OSP. Then all of a sudden we see that sort of ruling from the court saying that it is not necessary for the OSP to undertake that. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out in the coming days. But basically, my opinion on this is that if you look at the act that establishes the office of the special prosecutor, it's clear in the law that it gives them the prosecuting powers, for which reason they are able to order an arrest of any person they feel should be investigated for committing any crime. So if I were Charles Bissiou and I believe I'm clean, like he's been purporting, and he's saying, I mean, in his interview with Sander on other media platforms, he's been quite clear that there was no shady deal during his tenure as secretary to the IMSIM. I would want to subject myself to a proper investigation, go through the process, and be vindicated at the end of the day. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out. But my opinion is that I think the OSP should be allowed to do its job without many interferences. Well,
the order lasts for 10 days, while the case has been adjourned to 22nd June 2023. But in that tweet there, the OSP stated that the general public is advised that in the exercise of its police powers, the Office of the Special Prosecutor can arrest without a warrant any person it reasonably suspects of having committed corruption or corruption-related offenses. Certainly, we're following the story clearly, and we're bringing you updates as to what happens there. Let's move away from this story. The State Housing Corporation, they have announced plans to complete one of its abandoned affordable housing units. Let's bring you that insight.
The State Housing Corporation has announced plans to complete one of its abandoned affordable housing projects, the Little London facility at Adentan in Accra. An investigation conducted by the Bureau of National Investigations revealed that the former managing director of the State Housing Corporation, Dr. Mark Ankara, unilaterally and without board approval, issued 2 corporate guarantees on behalf of Proteus Company Limited, a construction firm, to secure a loan of $1.6 million for the affordable housing projects, but the funds were not used for the intended purpose. During a working visit to the project site by the Works and Housing Committee of Parliament, the Managing Director of the State Housing Corporation, Kwabena Appiah, assured that the facility would be completed in 7 months' time. City News' Ni Ayikwe Okan has more.
An investigation conducted by the Bureau of National Investigations established that the State Housing Corporation and a construction firm, Proteus, signed 3 development agreements dated 11th February 2013, 10th April 2013, and 6th June 2013. The agreement stated that the State Housing Corporation shall provide land situated at the Dry Pond area at Adenta Estate, Accra, for the construction of residential dwellings as its equity per market value at the land, whilst Proteus, the developer, will raise finance, develop and sell the unit to execute the works on behalf of the State Housing Corporation. The project was to be jointly managed for profit over a 60-year lease period. Investigation revealed that the said land at Adenta was not valued to merit the terms of the agreement. Contrary to the agreement, it came to light that Proteus could not raise the funds and thus relied on State Housing Corporation to guarantee loans for it before it could execute the project. The investigation also revealed that Dr. Ankra, the former managing director of State Housing Corporation, unilaterally and without the approval of the Board of State Housing Corporation on 25th September 2013 and 5th March 2014 issued 2 corporate guarantees on behalf of SHC for Proteus to raise loans of $1 million and $1.6 million respectively. However, SHC board minutes from 2012 to 2014 made no mention of approval for the issuance of the guarantees. It was further established that SHC and Proteus signed 2 corporate guarantee agreements before the CG were issued. It was agreed that $1 million will be used for the development of 28 housing units, whilst $1.6 million caters for 32 units of the Adenta Little London project. The findings suggest that Ali Umez and Dr. Mark Ankra are culpable of stealing $1.6 million. Dr. Ankra has also caused financial loss to the state. The 2 were also involved in money laundering, having used State Housing Corporation joint account to receive funds under a false guise. During a visit to the Little London project site by the Works and Housing Committee of Parliament, the Managing Director of the State Housing Corporation, Kwabena Appiah, provided details on the transaction.
State Housing went into a contract with the developer to produce these buildings. They were supposed to fund it and then complete it. It got to a point, then State Housing will get about 80%. No, the developer will take 80%, State Housing will get about 20%. The developer later on came back to State Housing to say that they are not able to find funding for it. So State Housing used our company as a guarantee for a loan for them to build. What happened was that the original contract was never changed. So even though at this time State Housing was the one funding it, the developer still got 80%, and then the government still got 20%. And the board thought it wasn't well done, and management changed. But then the developer sued that still they insist that even though they didn't put a dime into the property, they still needed 80%. So basically, we believe that we have a very good case, and I believe that the people, the developer and the people who signed that contract, they should be in jail.
The Works and Housing Committee later visited other project sites.
We are happy as legislators, lawmakers, that there's an intervention by government to ensure that we have decent accommodation for our people. We are all aware that the housing deficit is in excess of about 2 million. Yes, we have a huge challenge as a country, a huge challenge to provide accommodation for our people. But when we see some of these interventions, at least we are a bit comforted because we see it as we have a future for this country. Because if you can do this as a state agency, you can have totally decent places that people can live. Though, as MPs, we are concerned about the cost, obviously. It's not about the cost. Because if you look at the catchment area, the cost involved not everybody can afford. You must admit that even the middle class will struggle to afford.
The former managing director of the State Housing Corporation, Dr. Mark Ankra, together with the private developer Leo Mez, have been accused of causing financial loss to the state and also being engaged in money laundering by using the joint account of the State Housing Corporation to receive funds under a false guise. Reporting for City News, my name is Ni Ayikwe Okain.
So this is a very important issue to discuss. Reason is we've been battling with the issue of projects under construction that has been halted. When the details have been brought out, we noticed that there was some financial misappropriation or the embezzlement of funds when it comes to these things, people not allocating the funds properly, or when the funds are given, it's not being used well. Someone has to do some shady deals here and there before you see that the project is ongoing, which has stalled. A similar example is what is happening at Saglemi Housing Unit. And you can tell that if these things are not clear, we are still going to have projects. They will commence, it will pause, or it will halt, and there will be issues of some financial management there. I think this is becoming one too many, because even with the Saglemi Housing Unit, there is an issue there. We're looking at what is happening at the Little London facility at Adenta. There is also another problem there. But government is wishing or hoping to deal with the housing deficit, which is around some 2 million housing deficit in this country.
Philip, I mean, a lot of the problems we have in this country boils down to leadership, right? And for me, I've always maintained that it's important to know what the priorities of our leaders are, what their interests are, what their motives are. I mean, listening to the MD of the State Housing Company, right, say that when the deal was signed, it was supposed to be an 80-20 agreement.
The developer had
80%, then State Housing, which is government of Ghana, would have 20%. I mean, I'm yet to go into the details of that agreement, but on a face value, looks like a not too good negotiation for me, if I'm going to ask. So it's important what the motives of our leaders are, what their priorities are, people who negotiate on behalf of government. I mean, it's important. I mean, leadership, that's where leadership comes in. So for me, Saglemi is a prime example of, to an extent, failed leadership, right? Because we have a housing deficit of about 1.8 million. 2020 from the state Ministry of Works and Housing, 1.8 million, and we have facilities like Saglemi, which are about some 60 to 70% near completion, left abandoned to vagrants, to reptiles, left in a very deplorable state. Mind you, all of that, the taxpayers' money. So for me, it's unfortunate. It's very sad that we do this to ourselves. And you know, the most depressing bit of it is that after a very poorly negotiated deal, in the long run, then the country would have to be saddled with judgment debt cases because we couldn't fulfill our bargain or our side of the bargain as a government, as a people. So for me, it's very unfortunate that we make these things happen. The back stops, of course, with the sector minister, which would be the housing, the works,
the housing ministry minister, or the housing,
because he has oversight responsibility.
It's not
really
well resourced. How can they work?
Yeah, but
because normally you go into these issues, the ministry complains about allocation here and there, and the funds to also continue with these projects. Vis-a-vis what is happening when it comes to the issues happening on the project.
Yeah, I get your point. I'm not even trying to relate this specifically to the Little London case per the report you saw in Adenta. I'm just saying it in its generality that a lot of the problems we deal with in this country is as a result of poorly negotiated agreements, basically. And at the end of the day, the country is saddled with so many consequences of such deals. So it's important that our leaders negotiate in our best interest. And like I said initially, we know their interest, their what they consider priorities, really. So for me, at the end of the day, I hope government is still able to make the best out of this situation, get some funds and get the project running, because we need people to get proper, decent, affordable housing in this
the
country.
State Housing Corporation has stated that it will complete one of its projects. We are hoping that that will materialize. Let's take you to the Ashanti region, specifically Swame, where motorists are wishing that the Swame interchange project will be completed when started.
Now, motorists have renewed calls for the government to expedite processes to complete the Swami interchange project after contractors began preparatory works to move to site. The Swami roundabout, which is the central point for the interchange project, has been cleared after weeds took over the site 8 months since President Akufo-Addo cut sword. City News' Ashanti regional correspondent Hafiz Tijani reports.
Officials at Urban Roads Department recently said work on the interchange project will officially begin in August. This was when the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah led a delegation to the site camp of the construction firm in charge of the project, Rango Limited. There were consistent complaints by motorists and inhabitants following delays in the commencement of the project. The leadership of the governing New Patriotic Party in the Ashanti region pleaded with the president to ensure work starts soon. Contractors are cordoning off the area as they move their equipment to the site. Motorists and commuters want the government to stick to the project's completion deadline when work officially begins.
We don't want it to be seen as a 9-day wonder. It should continue so that at least it comes to a perfect end, as the Bible puts it. I know that it's going to also benefit the whole nation. This Swami interchange, let's say Kumasi alone, is serving about 3-4 regions. You want to go to Western region, Afro region, Greater Accra region, and even Central. And it's everywhere, and even the north, more than even that. So we are grateful to the government for maybe having kept the promise. It's been a long time.
Glory be to God. And also for the MPP, they are doing their best. They are doing their best, but we need more. And we don't want the project to be a standstill. We want to see progress in it. It shouldn't be like we are about to vote. That's when because the need of our vote, they are trying to put us on project. No, but rather we don't want that kind of ancient political stability. No, we don't want that kind of thing over. We want modern system of politics. That we immediately that you are being voted to the government, what you are mandated to do, that is what we are aspiring for you to do. But not that during election, if you try to bring this kind of strategy, we also vote you out.
Some commuters have also expressed confidence in the government to fulfill the promise made to the inhabitants of the region.
Hi, warehouse headquarters. Enti ojide se obey interchange na man sana ne tama so amanako. Enti de mpabo na ese no. Erade e magana fo nyina enka papa ne mpabo mu na. Wo mu adwen papa ma oman no. Enti de abamu mu yi. Nemo YouTube na yebon pese wa mbe bebie nwuma ma YouTube no
asa ka na nka okwo ho a na wa ya ne ntam na wa wie de pese na aka se bi a do mama na ye ya Akufo-Addo na ye ya so ho sa mama wie ai Dubai so bi aka se on na ye ya he nti so o ya akwo ho no ya ne ntam sa ya didin bo no be ma no.
City News has learned processes are also underway to evict persons occupying areas that the project would affect. The Swami Interchange project remains high on the minds of inhabitants and motorists in the Ashanti region. As contractors begin to move to sites, residents want the government to ensure the project meets its completion deadline. Hafiz Tijani, City News, Swami, Ashanti region.
And a lot of people in the Ashanti region, specifically in Swami, wants this project completed. I went to Kumasi some time back, and
tell me about it.
And when I went close to where this project is, and you could tell how bushy the place is. But today, it's been cleared, and the project is about to commence. Well, some work have already started, and when the chairman of the Ashanti region MPP, Chairman Wuntubi, did a presser asking government that, you know what, come to our aid, do this project, because this is what is going to give us more votes.
He said that is why we have conglomerated.
Yeah, we have
conglomerated. Only you understand.
So I think that government is doing well when it comes to this project. Maybe the funding may not be there, but I'm sure that it's been secured to get the project going. But it's the interchange and also ancillary roads. So some roads will be also constructed in addition to the interchange.
If you watch the voting pattern of Swami in God knows how long, with a population of about 130,000 people, I mean, it's a seat government would not want to cause any sort of disaffection for residents there, which reason you'd see the whole national the regional chairman organize a press conference to tell government and the president specifically that, guys, see what, we need to fix this at all costs, especially on the back of that kind of spectacle we saw when the MP, who is a majority leader in parliament, was hooted at, was heckled, had stones and water and other missiles pelted at him. So, I mean, the optics on face value already do not look too good for government. So they need to make amends, and you can understand why some works would have begun in earnest over there. But like I said, it's about numbers. It's also has some political connections to it, because what is being done because of everything that's happened. I mean, how is Kumewu all of a sudden without any proper protest having their roads fixed? Then Swami, I see not out of the blue. I see that's not even wasn't originally an MPP seat, all of a blue out of the blue having their roads fixed and Swami. So I think the political risk involvement that government needs to take that area seriously, and that is the result.
An interesting bit about this project is it's a 4-tier interchange, like the Pokwase interchange. So if Pokwase in the Greater Accra region has this 4-tier interchange, and also
a lot of dynamics come into play, but I believe strongly that politics is like the main reason, right? I mean, political leadership will do anything in their right to make sure that they maintain one of their strongholds, they maintain their interest, and ensure that there's not too much disaffection, especially with under 2 years, because you have less than 2 years going into a major national election. So the people of Swami, we wish them well, and they hope that they enjoy the process and the construction of their interchange.
Certainly, they will enjoy it, hoping that it's completed on time. They've been asking for this for a very long time as a 4-tier interchange, so that you may not move straight from the Ashanti region and come and look at what is in Pokwase, but you definitely have one in your region, that is Swami. You're still watching CNR Extra here on City TV, still to come. Online loan defaulters expose humiliation and harassment by credit facilities, citing an intentional inability to repay. And let's stay with us, we'll be back with more stories.
The day of a competition, from the shores to the pools to the beaches across the land. If you fancy yourself a competitive swimmer, this is for you. The City TV National Swimming Championships is happening on the 15th and the 16th of July 2023 at the Trust Sports Emporium. To register, WhatsApp your name, age, and contact details to 0558 973 973 or call 0205 973 973. The City TV National Swimming Championships is brought to you by City TV with support from 97.3 City FM and the Ghana Swimming Association.
Welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories. And online loan defaulters, they have exposed the humiliation and harassment they go through in the hands of credit facilities. Let's bring that insight.
Now, some individuals who have defaulted in loans from online credit facilities are speaking out about the humiliating treatment they have received from the firms. They assert that their failure to repay the loans was not a deliberate act of negligence. City News have gathered that some defaulters have been forced to flee their homes due to the embarrassment caused by loan recovery officials. There is more in this report.
The increasing cost of living has led many people to rely on loans provided mostly by online lenders to manage their day-to-day activities. However, for those who are unable to meet the repayment deadlines, they face various forms of humiliation. Confidential conversations with some of these defaulters have revealed that these loans are often offered without the typical requirement of collateral. Instead, the exorbitant interest rate, which far exceed the baseline, creates a nerve-wracking experience. But what does the financial practice say about these high interest charges being taken by these online credit facilities? Courage Boti, a financial analyst with GCB Capital Limited, shares more insight with City Business News.
There is no regulation on what the upper limit for interest rate should be for a loan, really. So it's a pricing decision, and you are in competition with others. So if you are offering loans, say at 50%, and another is offering at 40%, chances are a lot of people will troop to the 40% pricing. So you price based on your competition, you price based on your market and your clientele and your ability to maintain them or otherwise, really. But there is, I don't know of any cap on interest rate in Ghana that is that you cannot go beyond this one. There is a minimum that banks will charge, which is the reference rate.
The surge in online loan apps has also given rise to debt shaming tactics employed by certain financial firms to recover their funds from defaulters. Some companies go to the extent of publicly posting pictures of defaulters online and sending defamatory messages to their contact list. Kofi Ansah, not his real name, tells City News the humiliation he suffered because he failed to meet the deadline for payment of his loan from one of the online loan operators.
He called me around 3:20, so by 3:45, then I sent them the money. Then before I saw, friends started sending me messages that they have sent about me to them. But I use them as a guarantor to take loan from them, loan of 200 from them, and that blah blah blah. They should tell me I've defaulted.
Kofi is not alone. Many others over the last few days have taken to social media to share their experiences with these loan app operators and how they have been subjected to debt shaming. Responding to this development, Madam Patricia Edusei, the Executive Director of the Data Protection Commission, stated that such actions breach data privacy laws.
In the interim, whilst the police, the Bank of Ghana and the Cybersecurity Authority are doing their investigations to track these app owners down, we are taking it upon ourselves as regulators of the data and the responsible authority for helping you to save your privacy. We are now educating the public about these apps, telling you to be aware, to be careful, to be conscious of the implications of downloading this app and the impact on your life, to your family and to your community and your workspace for taking these loans. It's not worth it, because if you take a loan and suffer such an embarrassment, it's hard to turn the times back or to build your reputation again. It's now becoming a life and limb situation as some people are being physically attacked.
Aishatu, not her real name, who defaulted on her loan from a traditional credit facility, shares her experience with City News.
GB, I want quick credit for my GB or quick credit for me. No, almost started at Juma 2019, but we can one my GB bro 5 times. But when me J, you know, me who actually me kakra, until ma mentimi into ya. And now omo ba menchen, omo ba ya no so no. Omo ye nipa 12, cars 3 in a bar, nipa 12 in a bar ye. Omo ba ye mpona me meti abontin, and I me buy inside. Omo jina me so, me fa me si camera, me fa si camera nam so, me crazy canibi. Nti mo de me metua, omo se da bi, Emma, omo boys ni nyina so me mu, etwe me wo fom ade me pia abontin. Emma me nkwala me kire omo adwuma nyina, Emma ye nyina ye kwa abontin mo lock shop no.
Despite attempts by City News to obtain responses from these accused firms, they have been unresponsive. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has issued a caution to the public regarding the operation of unauthorized loan apps. The bank has identified 97 such applications that engage in unlicensed lending activities, contravening the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institution Act 2016 Act 930. Some of the entities listed by the Bank of Ghana include Flash Cash, Quick Cash, Easy Access, GH Lending, Acon Credit, and Cash Coco.
You see, when you owe, just pay, and when you take a loan, make it a point to pay, because for these guys, they wouldn't spare you. I know one, Quick Credit, they are everywhere, and they will ensure that you pay. I want to do a story at Samsung on that very deplorable road, and the vehicle of Quick Credit was descending the hill, and just guess the kind of vehicle they are using.
What vehicle do you use?
Vits. Toyota Vits, and they go to every corner to ensure that
Every
you pay
nook and cranny.
everywhere. The seamstress giving her account noted that they came there and they were 12 in number, just to ensure that you pay your money. And they wrote on someone's wall that Evelyn Aka or something, you owe Quick Credits, you have to pay. So I think that when you are going to take the money, in your mind you should know that you would pay the money. Though there will be some challenges here and there, but if you don't pay the money, how is the company also going to run?
The problem is not about paying the money on time. The problem is about the mode of business in itself per the Bank of Ghana is illegal. So in the first place, it shouldn't even be the case.
So now the Bank of Ghana, if there are some regulations that have to check that these kind of entities are not supposed to be in the system, we shouldn't wait to the last minute that you'll be giving caution to the general public, because you've come out with a number of them that these companies are not authorized, or you shouldn't do your business with them, and they are in the system. So certainly people
So this should be
person will go in for
this should be your argument, that we shouldn't allow them to fester, all of these businesses. But as to whether people will go and take it, I mean, we are humans, right? People go through a lot. There are very difficult situations people find themselves in. It is not justification for patronizing some of these products because of the implications, right? I mean, on the City Breakfast show, when this issue came up and they discussed it, someone sent a message in there and was read by Richard Sky. And the comment was that it is those who don't pay on time are the ones who are complaining about it. But for those who take the money and pay back on time, they really enjoy themselves. But I mean, this is clearly somebody who doesn't even know that he deserves better from his monetary and fiscal policy handlers in this country, monetary especially, because of the fact that we should be advocating for a proper ecosystem or environment for these kind of businesses to thrive with proper and efficient regulations, right? Because at the end of the day, it's always going to be the case that at a point in time you might need a little help. I mean, for some 3 days you need a little push, and in that moment you probably have exhausted friends, family, or anybody who could help immediately. But the other side of it is what we see: the death shaming, the embarrassment, the ridicule, the abuse.
There are terms and conditions applied. You know that we are going in for this money, and it's been stated that within 14 days or within 21 days, you need to pay back the money. And you said you will pay, and you've accepted you've taken the money. You don't want to give us the money back, and you want us to be.
That's what I'm saying. That even though you can justify some cases, they are not best practices.
The same thing that
we shouldn't enforce it, right?
The last guy said that the people who are taking the money and they are paying, they are okay with it.
No, it wasn't Scout who said it. It was a listener that said it.
The people who are taking and paying, they are okay with it, and the people who are taking and not paying, they are complaining.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That this is somebody, that listener clearly doesn't know that he even deserves better as a citizen, because we should be pushing for proper regulatory efforts aimed at the fact that, see, now we are going to say, okay, we have, I mean, I was listening to some stories and they were sharing about how you go and take the money and in 3 days you're expected to pay back, and for some reason the app will not even work because they want to harass you for some reason and try and even extort more money for you. That is criminal, that is illegal. So the point I'm making is that let's push together in the Bank of the BOG, stakeholders, everybody come on board, and let's push for proper regulation. I mean, somebody will argue and say that this is an effect or this is a result of a very our banking system not being too friendly to the ordinary Ghanaian.
People came in and they went to also invest.
So the point I'm making,
you also have to take it
the
into your
point
own
I'm making, I
mindset
believe
so
that
you don't do the
I
wrong
believe
thing.
that the Bank of Ghana would have to lead the effort in this together with all stakeholders. I mean, everybody in the online space, I mean, digital online space, digital fintech online space. See, let's create an enabling environment where we have proper regulation, where quick money can be lent, can be given out, and the processes involved will not be too difficult, will not be too draining on the person who goes in for that money. I believe it's a conversation that needs to be had very, 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 very seriously.
Well, we can have the whole day talk about this.
We can't exhaust this.
Exactly, we can have the whole day talk about this, but make sure that you are going in for the loan. Pay. If you don't pay, it's your own cup of tea. But then again, the Bank of Ghana is also cautioning us.
They shouldn't go in for the loan.
Well, you said we are humans. We will be in
as much as possible,
hard moments.
Until such a time that you have proper regulation enforcing them.
You shouldn't go in for it.
Stay away from it.
Well, let's move away from this story. Let's take you to the Ghana state where the basic Manchani Ayibonte II is asking the Greater Accra Regional Minister to render an unqualified apology. Let's find out why in this insert.
You're welcome back. This is the City Newsroom here on City TV. In other stories, a two-story building at Otojo in Dansoman in Accra has been earmarked to be demolished by Municipal Security Council of Ablekuma West. According to the council, the building poses risk to lives of occupants of adjoining buildings. The council says developers must acquire appropriate documentation from the Municipal Assembly prior to initiating any construction. City News' Philip Nilate has more.
The caution from the Municipal Security Council, MUSEC of Ablekuma West, to develop at Otojo. This action by the council comes in light of recent incidents involving the collapse of high-rise buildings. During a meeting with the owner Manche, and also what the Basic Manche is asking the Greater Accra Regional Minister to do. You're still watching CNR Extra here on City TV, still to come. Civil society organizations unite to demand 15% budget increase for public basic schools, citing urgent need for improved conditions. Kindly stay with us, we'll be back with more stories.
If you're a whiz kid that collects straight A's in your sleep, a brainy brains that aces quizzes without even trying, or a clever clogs that knows just about everything, then there's one or more battle you have to win. The Literacy Challenge. The nationwide search for the best junior high student is on. Think it could be you going home with 10,000 Ghana cedis and a glitzy trophy? Then, in not less than 600 words, write a story that ends with the following statement. The happiest people do not have the best of everything, they make the best of everything they have. Stories should be written in your own handwriting with the deadline of Saturday, the 15th of July 2023 in mind. Submissions must include an endorsement by a parent or guardian and their full contact details. And once you're done, shoot off your entries to the front desk of City TV or City FM. Or you can send entries to PO Box GP 14123 Accra Central. For more inquiries, call 0558 973 973. The Literacy Challenge 2023 is powered by City TV, supported by City FM, and is sponsored by the Ghana National Gas Company and Ribby Crunchy Biscuits by M4 Foods.
You're welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories, and let's go back to the Ghana state where the Bese Manche is asking the Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey to apologize.
Bese Manche Ni Ayibonte II has asked the Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey to render an apology to the Ghana state for varying the terms of observing the month-long ban on drumming and noise-making. The Paramount Chief of Bese says the minister has greatly offended the Ghana state by such an action. He made the comment at a ceremony organized for the lifting of the ban on drumming and noise-making at the Bese Palace in Accra.
This year's ban on drumming and noise-making, announced by the Ghana Traditional Council, began on May 15 and affected all forms of noise-making, including the use of loudspeakers, drums, tambourines, funeral rites, and roadside evangelism. At an emergency meeting convened by the Greater Accra Regional Security Council, led by Henry Quartey with the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs and the leadership of the faith-based organizations, an agreement was reached to allow for the use of microphones and public address systems at reduced volumes. But speaking at the lifting of the ban on drumming and noise-making on Thursday, Bese Manche Ni Ayibonte II expressed dissatisfaction over the matter and demanded an apology to the Ghana state from the regional minister.
Regional minister, media recording, can I patronize name? Cause of way, I become the Kakusu. I'm a baby. Moko baby. I can't buy the house and where I live. No, can you more? And now patronize ASL and record the regional minister. I can have a school can I be. And in the Choni woman, any affair quarter, and then I got. Your Tasi, I am minister, I am regional minister. Jay, you know, if they can, I don't know talk about she, minister, to forget bien, the neighbor, and you not quato.
Meanwhile, the Director of Communications at the office of the Bese Manche says all is set for the Homowo Festival.
That signifies the beginning of the Homowo. In a few weeks from now, that will be in August, 19th August, the principal jurisdiction of this land will celebrate the Homowo Festival. The Homowo Festival is also an activity to root anger. The Ghanaians have passed through war, have passed through certain journey, and they take this activity to remember their forefathers, their ancestors, and then ask blessings.
So the Bese Manche is asking that the Greater Accra Regional Minister apologizes. Reason is when there's a ban on noise and drumming, noise making and drumming, certainly it should be a total ban. No noise making, no drumming. Even in churches, the usage of microphones, tambourines and all that, even if you are in an enclosed area. But when there was a meeting at Dodua between the some traditional members and also faith-based leaders, and there were some considerations. But I think that this can be resolved.
Yeah, I mean, because, Philip, if you accuse the regional minister of disrespecting the Ghana state, I find that particularly interesting because ever since he became regional minister, I feel like everything he's done, right, has been towards pushing and reinforcing Ghana values in society, especially in Accra. You'd recall his speech at the Presby Church some time ago, where he was talking about decrying the spit at which there was some sort of lack of Ghana language. In his words, the Ghana language was
limited Ghana teachers,
yes,
and also in the schools, the Ghana language was
exactly. And he pushed so much, calling for people to take it up and trying to reinforce it again. I mean, not long after, we saw him decry also the way certain communities were changing the original names of and so many other things. I mean, trying to decongest Accra and all of the other things is done in pushing and trying to reinforce GAR values. So I found it particularly interesting to suggest that his actions has caused some disaffection or has led to a disrespect of the GAR state. I don't think Mr. Henry Kote would do any of such thing. I mean, when he talks about the fact that the church, that's faith-based organizations, and traditional authorities should meet each other halfway. Because Philip, come to think about it, if you are in a church with, let's say, 1,000 members, and because of the ban of noise making, I mean, it was practically impossible, really. And the ban says noise making, right? So I was struggling to understand personally how using a microphone in a church with an audience of, let's say, 500 or 1,000 people will constitute noise making, right? Using a microphone. Not to talk about the use of the call to prayer, like we see the Muslims do, or even the Catholic Church. So for me, I felt that it's important that the church and, or let me say, faith-based organizations and the traditional authority meet each other halfway. This should have even been something led by the chieftaincy minister, Mr. Samoa Asabi.
Well, I'm sure that this issue will be resolved.
In the next, in subsequent ones, I hope that there's proper collaboration and engagement.
It has to be resolved because the Bisi Mancha is of the view that the rules should not be bent.
It's not about bending, it's about modifying. I mean, society's changed, right? 20 years ago, Chokosi and all of those things.
Let's see how this turns out. We know that the Greater Accra Regional Minister will respond to this, but let's move away from this story where CSOs, they have united to demand for 15% budget increase for public basic schools, citing urgent need for improved conditions.
Over 5 civil society organizations in the education sector are jointly advocating for a 15% increment in the budget allocation to public basic schools. These civil society organizations are deeply concerned about the challenging conditions faced by basic schools, including inadequate infrastructure, a shortage of learning materials, overcrowded classrooms, a lack of qualified teachers, and limited access to technology and resources. There is more in this report.
According to the Ghana Statistical Service, there is a troubling number of 1 million children between the ages of 4 and 18 who are currently unable to attend school. This concerning situation is primarily due to the insufficient availability of public basic schools. During a recent press briefing on June 15, various civil society organizations in the education sector, such as the Star Ghana Foundation, Africa Education Watch, and the Ghana National Association of Teachers, highlighted this issue. The press briefing served as a platform for these civil societies to express their deep concerns about the state of education in Ghana. They specifically addressed issues such as the lack of textbooks and infrastructure, the politicization of teacher recruitment, and the non-payment of utility bills in basic schools. Joyce Lanyo, the spokesperson for the civil societies, stressed the urgent need for an increase in the budget allocation to public basic schools. She proposed a significant increment of 15% to enhance the overall quality of education provided in these schools.
Increase the budgetary allocation to education from the current 12% to at least 15% of the total national budget, using the supplementary budget window, and prioritize the disbursement of allocated discretionary education budget to increase the low budget execution to at least 100% by the end of the current financial year. The anticipated budgetary increment in the above, which amounts to over 4.3 billion, should be, as a matter of urgency and necessity, be allocated to augment the hugely underfunded basic education goods and services budgets and construct about 5,000 schools existing under trees, sheds, and
of course, this demand is laudable because the basic level is very important. If a student has to move to the senior high school level or the university, the fundamentals, or let's say the foundation of that pupil or that student is very important. So if government is supposed to invest more money there, this is what the civil society organizations are asking for. I think it should be heeded too.
Yeah, especially when this government's focus in the last 6 years has been on free SHS and creating the impression that I mean, the focus, there's been some shift from the BEC to SHS because it was a flagship program of government. So you can understand why these civil society groups will come together to push this narrative again. Another interesting and very important thing they talk about is schools under trees, where the scorecard for this government doesn't look too good. So we urge the minister and the GES to look again, revise their strategy in addressing the issue of trees under schools. Of schools under trees.
Under trees.
Sorry, schools under trees.
Rightly so. Let's bring you some more story. And the former EC boss, that is Dr. Afarijan, he is calling for technology integration in collation centers to prevent election manipulation.
And the former chairman of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan, has emphasized the vulnerability of collation centers to election manipulation in the electoral process. He attributes this vulnerability to the excess reliance on manual systems for result tabulation. Speaking at a forum commemorating the 60th anniversary of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Dr. Afarijan advocated for the inclusion of technology in the collation of election results rather than the creation of numerous layers of collation centers. We have more in this report.
With less than 2 years remaining until the 2024 general election, discussions on how to ensure free and fair elections are gaining momentum. One area that has received significant attention is the role of technology in achieving this objective. Ghana's electoral processes have witnessed remarkable improvements over the years, from the use of opaque ballot boxes to transparent ones, biometric voter verification and voter registration. Technology has played a central role in Ghana's achievement of a commendable democratic model in Africa. The concern now is how to sustain and further enhance these achievements. In light of this, the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, as part of its 60th anniversary celebration, organized a platform to discuss the role of electronic technology in shaping the future of elections in Ghana. Keynote speaker Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan, the former chairman of the Electoral Commission, highlighted the impact of technology on Ghana's elections. However, he called for the introduction of technology at collation centers to mitigate their vulnerability to manipulation.
So voter tabulation sounds like a simple and straightforward activity. However, examples from recent elections would indicate that collection centers are the most vulnerable points in manipulating election results.
The New Patriotic Party has proposed adopting a system similar to Nigeria's, where results are transmitted directly from the polling station.
Rightly so, that is what the former boss for the EC has stated. More technology, I think, less hands for less human activities or human involvement when it comes to the collation of results, because he stated that the collation centers are the most vulnerable and technology should be introduced there.
I mean, if any other person is saying it, then there's room for debate, right? But if it's coming in from Afarijan, Dr. Afarijan, then you know that, well, this needs to be
He has been there for a very long time. He knows what it takes.
Been there, done that, seen it all. He's become an institution, and I hope that we listen to him and pay heed to him. I mean, I think we've come a long way from the days of opaque ballot boxes to transparent ballot boxes. So it's a gradual process, a gradual step. Only that I believe that our current leaders should be more involved in speeding up the process of technological adaptation to our body politics or election system in the country. But I think we'll get there gradually.
Well, thank you. And that is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra here on City TV. My name is Philip Nilacha. I did this with Judy Mensah Duncan. Many thanks for your time and keep watching City TV.